Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Pipeline Disney Edition. How's everyone doing? How's it going? You know what? This is going to be a very chill stream. This is what I call one of our interlude episodes. There's no shows on this week. Um, and I've been planning on when I kind of wanted to do this. I kind of wanted to do this the week after The Little Mermaid came out, and I was like, I don't know if there's enough to talk about a whole stream just about Little Mermaid. So I was like, you know what? Little Mermaid came out, Peter and Wendy came out, didn't talk about either of those. Elementals is coming up and it's officially out. And there's been a whole bunch of Disney news from the past real year that I haven't talked. I've talked about, a couple of the big things, the big outlets, I guess. So like Toy Story 4 getting announced, and Inside Out 2, and like Zootopia 2, and all that kind of stuff. Frozen 3 and all those announcements I definitely had made a video about. But I was like, you know what? There's been a bunch of these stories that has come out that I've not talked about, I've not mentioned on the channel. Let's just make a large video just for myself and talk about it. I'll just kind of right off the bat, there's no one currently here, and honestly, I get it. It's on my channel. I don't get to talk about Disney that often. I don't really have a large fan base for Disney, and you know what? That's okay. It just, for my own mental health, it's fun to talk about. It's real fun to talk about some Disney every once in a while. And I have a lot of stories here. So what I normally do is I bring up a bunch of news stories first, and then I dive into our main topic at hand. But today they're all kind of mixed together for, the paces it out a little bit more. So we have some news stories, and then there's some main topics, and there's all that jazz underfold, I guess, here. So of course we have a bunch of news stories. We are going to be talking about again. What is first Peter and Wendy. What is then a couple minutes, about halfway through the stream, we have the Little Mermaid talk. If you've seen Little Mermaid, you can chime in and talk about what your thoughts are on it. And at towards the end of the stream, we will be talking about Elementals and Doug has a date, or not Doug, Carl has a date. That brand new Pixar short that I want to talk about. I will let you guys know when that is happening, for I don't accidentally spoil you. This is a weird movie. It's hard to spoil that movie. But still, if there are any fans that kind of wanna still watch that movie with no expectations going into it, I'll give y'all a chance. And of course, we got stuff like new trailers to talk about, and announcements, and film sequels, and show announcements, and we got some fun things to talk about. And if we have time at the end, I do have a tier list that I think could be a lot of fun. So without further ado, let's jump into our first topic at hand, and that's some good old-fashioned live-action reboots. There's a lot of live-action reboot stuff. There's a lot of that kind of stuff at play this video, this stream, if you will. Turn on a little music. Let's turn on this music a little bit. Let's kind of chill out with this news. So Chris Sanders, who played Stitch in the original classic Lilo and Stitch, and when I say classic, I mean about 20 years ago, which puts things in perspective for you, if you will. But he was, and now is officially in final talks for the new Lilo and Stitch live action remake. So I want to hear kind of what people's thought. I'm very curious about this movie, and this movie has been in high discussion over the last couple months. We have the full cast at hand. I'm not going to look through them all at this point in time, but I do want to bring them up and talk about them just a little bit, because there was a lot of controversy within this casting. I know Pacha was really good. I know the two main aliens castings were really solid, and I think everyone loved Stitch coming back. And everyone loved that little girl that literally looked just like Lilo, like it came up and everyone's like, that's just Lilo. Like she looks so good. And I'm very excited for that girl to get her time to shine, I guess, to be Lilo. And I think for those four, casting turned out really, really good, and I'm very happy for them. And then when it came to like Nani and David, and I remember, bro, when the internet blew up, when everyone thought Bubbles was like race swapped into being a woman, and they bullied this woman for like a week. And then it came out, actually, no, we actually do have a Bubbles as well. Like, but we're not getting rid of Bubbles. We're just adding an extra character in here. Which is great news. You know, the more differences that these movies have, the better that they are. I think as a whole, though, I do want to say I am excited for this movie. I'm also very concerned because I think out of all the live action reboots, this is one I think could really work. I think you can have a fun little space franchise with these characters and with this world. It's so big and large, and you could totally do something really fun with this as a franchise. I am a little concerned. I think my biggest concern is that it is going to Disney Plus and not theaters. I have not loved any of the Disney Plus live action reboots thus far. I thought Lady and the Tramp was okay. Nothing great, but nothing like it wasn't bad. It was the most basic movie you could ever imagine. Really, really was. And then I did not like Pinocchio, clearly. And then recently I did not like Peter and Wendy as well. I thought they were all kind of, yeah. But you know, I guess the budget and stuff didn't look bad for any of them. I guess for just like Pinocchio, but I think like Pinocchio wasn't bad. It's just I think to make Pinocchio the way I wanted Pinocchio to be, you needed more of a budget than it was given, and it couldn't like thrive on a Disney Plus budget, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. But again, I'm very glad for Chris. Like this is like a like Mufasa type thing where it's like, well, you could recast, but is anyone going to, like, that voice of Stitch is so iconic, and I think that's why people are coming back to this. I think you are going to want to hear Stitch do Stitch's thing, and I don't know if any of them could replicate it in a way that sounds good. And you know, it's all kind of just sounds and less small voices. So I don't see a reason not to bring Chris back for this endeavor. I wonder when this is going to come out as well, because they just started filming it a couple months ago. I would assume next year. I would assume it. Oh man, if it's late next year, or like if it's like next, I could see late next year, because I know Moana is getting underway. It hasn't even started filming it, and it already has a thing ready for 2025, and that's a big budget. We'll obviously talk more about that as we dive in here, but I could see like a Christmas release. I mean, it should be summer, but like I could see like a December release date for this movie. I do just hope that it does get a theater release, because I think out of all of them, this is one of them that should have one, in my humble opinion. So up next here, very excited to talk about Ello. So this is a film. I'm very excited to talk about this one just a little bit more, because we had heard things about Ello. Ello. I think it's Ello. I think that's how you pronounce it. So this is Pixar. This is one of Pixar's films for next year, along with Inside Out 2. The film, directed by Coco's director, Adriana Moline, hope I'm pronouncing that name right, follows a boy who is mistakenly identified as the ambassador for Earth. And we got the first official teaser for this movie. Now, obviously, I don't want to watch the trailer. I think Disney might shut the stream down if we talk about if we showed the whole trailer here. But I do want to bring it up and kind of give you my opinions thus far. kind of show you what I'm kind of feeling about Pixar currently. And I think this looks very cute. This looks like a very, very cute movie. It gives me pure Pixar vibes. It really, really does. I'll be honest, Pixar's in a really weird state right now where, at least for me as a fan, as I have enjoyed a lot of their newer outings. Like, I did really enjoy Elementals. I enjoyed Turning Red. I enjoyed their Souls, and like they haven't came outside of Lightyear. They haven't given me a movie that I have straight out disliked. But you know, I do think they're in a place where like some of what you love from Pixar may not be there. Like they aren't giving us Wally's or Toy Stories or Inside Outs or Coco's. I think they've all kind of been in this, definitely not within Pixar's worst films, but also not in Pixar's best either. Just kind of in that middle spot. And this movie feels very like a hit classic to me. Like I could see my kids watching this movie. If I ever have kids, obviously. And you know, I think it really does hinder, like a lot of it does feel like embracing that childlike innocence that I think Pixar does very well with your stuff like Nemo and even like your Wally's. Obviously a kid's probably 8, 6, 7, 8. And he's being like the ambassador for the entire Earth. So I think that opens up the like limelight of what you can do as far as your like imagination. And like I hope they lean into this idea of like the world through a child's eyes and how he is like describing and talking about and setting Earth up through his perspective as a child. I think could be really, really cute. I really do. I think you could have a really cute, fun, classic movie on your hands. Obviously you have the space adventures, and we saw from that thing that we showed you earlier, like some of these shots look gorgeous. I hope they lean into some of the space stuff, and oh my gosh, like I'll be honest, I'm one of those kids who did not get a cell phone until he was much, much older. But just seeing like a 7-year-old with like a smartphone is insane to me. How insane is that, man? Absolutely bonkers. How do we? Obviously no one's watching currently. How do we feel about another space movie from Pixar? They like their space movies, man. I mean, of course they started off with Toy Story, which has so many space elements. Buzz is a space ranger. And 2, there's an entire space scene, and obviously Wall-E is one of their greatest movies. And then most recently Lightyear, like a space odyssey action adventure movie. So they definitely like their space settings, I guess. But no, I think it looks cute. It definitely gives me very much Home vibes. I guess like in reverse of Home, right? Because Home is an alien going to Earth and just hanging out with a kid. This is a kid going to space hanging out with like aliens and robots. Like, oh my gosh, like look at this shot. This is honestly, like the movie looks very, very pretty. Very gorgeous. I like these character designs. I think they look really cool. This guy right here, we've seen him a couple of times. He seems like our sidekick of sorts, right? He looks like a lot of fun. He looks like he's about to sell toys. This girl, too, I wonder who she is. Interesting. And, you know, it definitely starts off as very... Like, I could see a world where this is a very basic kind of space alien movie. Or I can see a world where it's just a lot of fun. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, no. Elo, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's either Elo or like Elo. But I mean, like, I think fall into the childlike innocence, and I think you can have a really fun, solid movie on your hands here. Alrighty, let's move on here straight ahead. So yeah, we got a couple of these Pixar things that came out within the last 24 hours or so. So Pete Docter, big CEO over at Pixar, and he had made some comments about, I don't know if it was like an interview or a press junket or whatever it was, but he had made a couple of statements. So he said that recent releases have trained audiences that these films will be available for you on Disney Plus. It's more expensive for families of 4 to go to a theater when they know they can wait. So this is something we've been saying has been a big topic for me and a big fear for Pixar for a while, and just like animated movies for a while now, that I think is a little bit of a scare for just me personally. So DreamWorks' newest movie, it's about, I actually forget what it's about. It's like some kind of like monster, this like darkness monster that looks really fun. And apparently it's going exclusively to like Netflix instead of like a theater. And that's a little concerning to me, because I think if they see it doing well on Netflix, what does that lend for other streaming services to do? And I think Pixar has been primarily, as of recent, a Disney Plus original like company, like studio. Obviously starting what was the first one? Was it Turning Red? No, Soul. Soul was the first one, deep in like pandemic. Obviously didn't have a choice. They gave it to people for like Christmas. And as great as that was, I felt so bad for all those creators who just gave their movie for free, basically. And it was great. Like, I actually think I would have done very well if it went to theaters. And then Luca, like 6 months later, same thing. Great movie. Think it could have done well. Amazing. I love both of those movies a lot. And then movies like Raya and Turning Red. I think Turning Red was like the, okay, send this thing to a theater. Why? People are returning to theaters. Why are you still doing this? Not even with like a charge and nothing. It was very weird. And I think Turning Red, because of its straight to streaming thing, was an easier target for all those weird YouTubers who don't want to see certain things represented, or you know, that weird crowd. And then Lightyear, it went to theaters, but like no one watched it, and they just kind of waited for it to come to like Disney Plus instead, which I thought was a weird. I get it, like I really, really do, and I think since then there's definitely a thing where like Elementals is like coming out, and with like The Flash and Transformers, everyone's just like, we'll see it in like a month or two. And I as much as I do completely I understand it. What's up, stranger? As much as I completely understand it, it's very unfortunate. I want Pixar to thrive. I don't want Pixar to become a streaming only studio, I guess. It's very concerning. But let's move on here. So, you know, I think with Pixar's originals, again, haven't been doing very well. Lightyear didn't do well. Turning Red went straight to streaming. Our newest film, Elementals, which again we would talk about later. As much as I loved it, it's not doing great. I don't. Did they not care? Like I wonder why these. I guess I know it's like expensive to like remarket movies and move movies, but I sometimes think it's smarter to move films than have a bluster of films currently. Because like June is insane with like Flash and Transformers and this and like DreamWorks' new movie, and there's that new like romantic comedy that's coming out, and I don't know. June is so busy. I think Strays has been the only smart movie with moving at 2 months. I think they've been the only smart ones here. But he talked about Pete Docter says that more Pixar sequels after Toy Story 5 and Inside Out 2 are all fair game. I'm fine with Pixar sequels. I know there was a comment years and years ago where they said they make their sequels for they can be more creative and have the money to make their original movies, which I still think to this day, I think the original movies are still where they thrive. But I think Pixar is a studio that usually does a pretty good job with their sequels. There's not many that I hate. There's some, Cars 2 is pretty rough, right? Cars 2 is kind of rough. I don't know. I know a lot of people have been pitching what they want to see for like a sequel from Pixar. I would like to see some of these newer ones that didn't get a lot of money get sequels. Like I think like an Onward 2 would be a lot of fun. I think there's a lot of ways you can explore that. I think Elementals, the more recent one. Again, I don't want to talk spoilers yet, but the way they ended that, I would be very open for a sequel. Luca, I think they ended it very open for like a sequel. Again, I don't know if the budget, I don't know if those movies made enough to warrant sequels. If I know them, like they're probably gonna keep going on with Inside Out 3 and Toy Story 6 and maybe, God, we might have to put up like a Finding Nemo 3. I love Finding Nemo. I don't think I want a Finding Nemo 3. Like an Incredibles 3 maybe. I don't know. Like I think they might go with those main ones. But we'll see. Yeah. Oh yeah. I think that's very true, and I hope we move onward with that. Like I hope that's not the case. I'm really hoping Pixar can find its thrive again. I'm hoping 2024. Because like we have two bigger movies in 2024, and I think 2024 is also a less crazy year for film. I think with like the writer strike going on, I think some of these movies that are done or closer to being done are going to be hopefully do better than 2023 was. Interesting that Release the Muschietti cut is trending right now. Trending. I'm sorry guys, I'm a little sick. Not sick, just what did he say that like he had like a 4-hour cut? Why though? Like he said it was the worst version of it, or like this is his favorite version. Maybe though, there seems like there was a lot cut. Like there's scenes in that movie that felt uncompleted. I guess there's like lines of like dialogue where it's like that didn't quite make much sense there in this context. Alrighty, let's move on here to our first, I guess, review of the stream. For those of you just coming in, we are talking about Peter and Wendy today, The Little Mermaid 2, or just the Little Mermaid, and Elementals later on in the month. So I don't have any notes here. I'm just kind of chilling. Kind of want to talk about my thoughts on this movie. It came out, I'm gonna be completely honest with y'all. Movie came out in April 29th, and the end of April. I did not finish it until last night. I started it like March 3rd or 4th or something. I did not finish it until like last night because I disliked that first half so much. And it's not, it's weird. I think this is a really weird movie because I don't think it's bad. There's nothing outright terrible about this movie. I just think it's the most basic movie I've ever seen. I think that's very unfortunate. I really, really, really do, because I love Neverland. I love the world of Neverland. Like to the point I would love to make my own story in this world. I think there's so many outlets, there's so many interesting stories here. And I think the first half mainly is the same movie from like the 50s. It's the same thing. We really rehashed that same movie. Only difference is less interesting, I guess. Like, it takes a lot of that magic out that like you love from that classic 50s movie. I mean, I'm not a big like Peter Pan fan like at all. Like, I'm not a massive fan of it, but like I understand why people do, and that first half really does drain kind of the life of it. Like, there's some cool stuff in there. There's a few changes. I'm like, all right, that's pretty cool. And then it's not until the back half for me where I'm like, this movie kind of, I don't know, like I don't want to spoil it because I'm seeing a few people inside the chat haven't seen it. There's direction with characters. I'll say Hook. I'll say Hook. They take Hook in a very fun direction that I wish they would have just made that the whole movie. I think this would have been much better if it was just a Hook movie. If it's a prequel, if it's like a sequel to like the older movies. I think they try and do some stuff with Hook and Peter Pan's history that is very fun, that I wish they could dive into more, but they can't because it's still supposed to be about Peter Pan and Wendy. Which again, I still think Peter Pan is one of the most unlikable characters I've ever seen. Like, I hate Peter Pan so much. He's better in this. Like, I think he's a less annoying character than he is inside like the classic one. But he's also just like boring. Like, he doesn't really got much to do, right? He really is kind of like the thing that pushes the whole thing forward. So yeah, no, I mean, I think there's some interesting things here. I kind of wanted more from Peter Pan and Wendy, I guess. I don't have much to say. I wanted more from Tink. Tink's a weird character with, like, in this setting, she can't talk. So, they, like, tried to give her this thing about, like, you have a lot to say, but no one can hear you. And I'm like, okay, that's fun. They don't explore it, though. There's, like, 2 lines about it, or it's like, oh, darn. Smee, Smee is, like, one of those things I love about the first movie. And he is so basic and boring, and he was very disappointing. Again, Hook, highlight of this movie for me. But yeah, I'm not going to cry over this movie. Like, there's no harm being done here, I guess. Not much joy, though, either. So, I hope you find a way to do that someday. Thank you. I do want to write movies and TV shows at some point. I just need to find the time to do it. What's your favorite Disney live action remake? Mine is The Lion King. Does Christopher Robin count? So, if all goes to plan, I do want to talk about. I am planning on ranking the movies at the end of the stream. I have a tier list pulled up here. If we have time, if I have time to get through all of these news articles. But if we're counting Christopher Robin, then Christopher Robin for sure. Alrighty, a live action, a hybrid remake of the Aristocats is in the works at Disney. Questlove is set to direct the movie. So again, this came out several months ago. This isn't new news. This is old stuff back from like March, I think, March, quite a bit ago. But again, never talked about it. Kind of want to pull it out, give my thoughts. And again, there's a lot of live action reboots announcements recently. There's been a lot. I rewatched Aristocats recently, and I think it's really good. I do really like the original Aristocats. I don't see why this would be a thing. This seems a very weird one. I get it, money, right? People like money, but like, do people like I don't think Aristocats is one of those fan favorite films that everyone loves. Like, this feels more in line with like Lady and the Tramp. I have a feeling that this would end up being like a Disney Plus release. Obviously probably lower budgets, very weird looking cats. Why is it hybrid? Why? Why hybrid? Why not just make real cats? You can have just real. You can train real cats. Why are we doing it like Lion King style? That just sounds creepy. Why? I guess I'm just trying to figure out what this is like. What's your audience here? I know there are some people that obviously love this movie, but I don't know, enough for like a reboot. I don't know. I don't have much to say here, but yeah, it's happening. Like Lady in the Trap. Yeah, I get the same vibes with this movie that I do with Lady in the Trap, which again wasn't bad. Lady in the Trap wasn't a bad movie either. Just kind of eh. So I wanted to talk about this Descendants news just a little bit. I did want to make like a full video back when it first came out that this character was returning for Descendants. Now I should say I was under the impression it was coming out this summer, but I don't think that's the case anymore. I'm thinking maybe they might aim for like fallish times, that like creepy vibes for this movie. So she played Cinderella back in like the 80s, I think, and I've not seen the movie yet. I have not got around to actually watching this film yet. But I think the fact that it's kind of like merging with like the like Cinderella world, or like this like Descendants world is very interesting. I think merging these two worlds and like, I don't know, making like Descendants cinematic universe is an interesting choice, which I'm very excited to see. Again, I hope it comes out soon because I love that world. I'm very excited to see what the spinoff, if you will, has to offer. I don't have much else to say here. Let's move on. So Wish came out with a trailer back in what I want to say is like April. I think it was about April, probably either late April or early May-ish. I think we got an official trailer for Wish. Let's pull up the trailer. Of course, again, we're not going to be watching the trailer. Oops. So we got this new trailer, the official trailer, and this is something that I really I needed this teaser. I really did need this teaser because we had heard so much about this movie, but really nothing about it. And again, this is full on a teaser. There's little here to really talk about. Of course, this is their 100th anniversary special, supposed to like honor all the past of like Disney movies. Supposed to have like 3D and 2D and supposed to like be a musical, and it's supposed to be everything that everyone loves about Disney, and I'm very excited for that. Of course, Alan Tudyk is here as the sidekick once again. We all love our boy Alan Tudyk. I'm very curious about this one though, because again, there's not much to go on. We got our classic like Disney villain that I'm very excited to see, which again, I think that was my biggest takeaway, is that this man is a full-on Disney villain. He's no like emotional baggage. There's no twists. He's like a full-on villain here that we haven't had. I'm trying to think, who was our last full-on non-twist villain? And I'm thinking it maybe was Mother Gothel. A villain that isn't really a villain that's, again, not a twist. Who's a villain from start to finish. I think it might be Mother Gothel. So I'm very excited, and I think that's Chris Pine playing the villain as well. And I think she's a princess, which we haven't had like a Disney princess movie in a while. So that's always very exciting to see, and to see what they do with this movie. Again, I'm just waiting for that full trailer to drop, because Disney's in a little bit of a funk. As much as I am enjoying what they've been putting out, I want another Encanto and not another like Lightyear, I guess. We'll see though. I think it all looks very promising. 100th anniversary. I wonder if we're going to get any, like, I don't want any cameos, but I could see Disney being like, here's Mickey Mouse, or here's... The only cameo I would want in here would be like a blue fairy to honor the whole, like, wishing star thing. Like a blue fairy or like a Jiminy Cricket would be kind of the only ones I would want here, I guess. Alrighty, let's zoom right across here. We're getting through these pretty fast. I'm very happy. I don't hate Lightyear. I really don't. I think it's one of the more basic Disney movies. Alrighty, let's talk about Haunted Mansion. I just kind of used this screenshot as just like hey, let's talk about Haunted Mansion really quick. So new look at Jamie Lee Curtis and Disney's Haunted Mansion. I want to talk about Haunted Mansion a little bit because I don't feel like a lot of people are talking about it. It seems to be one of Disney's bigger blockbuster films of the year. I think they thought this movie would be a much bigger deal than what it currently is, and I'm not hearing a lot of people talking about it. And I would say I'm actually very excited. Now, I don't love the original Haunted Mansion movie. I don't dislike it. It's a fun Eddie Murphy movie, but that's not a movie I grew up on or blew me away in any sort of way. But I think what I love about this movie so far is it just kind of looks like a real movie. You know what I mean? Disney's been going very hard with their sequels and reboots and all their cash cow things. And this, as this is still technically a reboot, doesn't feel like it. Outside of them being in a haunted house, this really doesn't feel much. Doesn't feel much like a reboot at all. Kind of just feels like its own little property with an all-star cast of like Owen Wilson and like Danny DeVito and like Jamie Lee Curtis. And like if this is from any other studio, I'd be like, could they be up for like an Oscar? Or I don't know. Like I love this cast, and you got like Claire from like Daredevil, and you have all these all-star cast members kind of suiting up here that I'm very excited for. I don't know if it'll be great, but it could be. Like I think all the trailers to me just looks like kind of like a Ghostbusters type movie. Like there doesn't seem to be much of a sign that it's even Disney. Like a lot of it kind of seems more mature than we're used to Disney giving us. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I have never seen a Haunted Mansion before. I think that's fine. I wonder how many people have, because I had not seen it growing up at all. My voice is going out currently. I am so sorry. I'm gonna try and make it to the end of this. But no, I mean, I didn't grow up with this movie. It's not a film that I knew a lot about growing up. I watched it, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago, around like the Halloween season. It's fun. I'd say if you like Eddie Murphy, you like a Eddie Murphy comedy, it's fun. Put it on. It's alright. Alrighty here. Let's talk about The Little Mermaid, the thumbnail of the video. Kind of giving my thoughts on this film. I like this movie a lot. I actually did. I was very surprised coming out of The Little Mermaid, because I had my worries going in. I really, really did. This is being a movie that I waited for. Seems like forever. Like, it feels like this, has been such a journey kind of leading into The Little Mermaid, from just getting announced and me being like, oh, how are they going to do that? To the casting, which blew up the internet, obviously. Olivia Halle, you were great. To just kind of getting here with all the trailers and all the hoopla and all the stuff kind of getting to this movie actually coming out. And yeah, I think it was really good. I think it does a lot that I love from live action reboots. It does a lot that I want to see more of. It obviously, it takes that original story and it tells it again in a way that reboots often do. but I think it does it in a way that that obviously takes a lot from those classic movies that we love, but it changes a lot more than I was expecting. And it's like about 50 minutes longer than the classic movie. So obviously I knew some things were going to be different, but there are literally things that are fundamentally much better in this movie than the classic, which very few of these movies have been able to do, in my opinion. There've been very few. I will say, obviously, I don't want to spoil it too much because I don't know if Ginger has watched it. I think this movie, like, when it just comes to, I think the characters are just better here. I think with 50 more minutes of, like, screen time, these characters are able to, almost all the characters are able to grow and expand and become more of who they are meant to be, I guess. I think Ariel is so good. I think Halle Bailey kills it as this character. She is phenomenal as Ariel. And I love that classic Ariel. That classic Ariel is one of my favorite Disney characters of all time. But I think in some ways she elevates it. I really do think she elevates that character to a status that the original just didn't have time to do. Eric is fundamentally a better character. Eric is amazing. I love that man so much. You have no idea. I think he's so good. I think Sebastian, I love Diggs as that character. He's kind of relatively the same. Like he doesn't really do anything different that the original did or didn't do. He's just slightly less charming, I guess. Triton, I was kind of very disappointed because I love that actor. He's in like Supernatural and he's in like all that stuff. So I love him. He didn't do much for me. I actually think I liked him less. He seemed, I think the stuff he was, again, I think he was just given what the original was given. And I think when these movies just copy the like original dialogue, I'm not a huge fan. Personally. Trying to think, Scuttle is a big topic of talk currently. Her like scuttlebutt song that the internet's framing for. I think Awkwafina was an interesting choice indeed, but I think as a character that you're not supposed to love, I thought she was a fine casting. Like I think she did the job fine enough. So I don't know. I think she really just was casted as like, all right, who's the most annoying voice in Hollywood? And they're like, Awkwafina, she'll work. But no, I think she did a fine job. Flounder, disappointed by. I love that actor. I think he was great in like Luca. Didn't do anything. Actually, I think he had less screen time than like the first movie, which is insane to me. I think it also didn't help that he didn't have any expression. I think like Sebastian, like he had those like little beady eyes and like you could still like, oh, he's cute. Flounder, you're just kind of a fish and you can't really like connect with him on a personal level. Can't forget his name, but like Eric's, who's Ginger? Did I say Ginger? I don't know if I said Ginger. But like Eric's like butler guy, I always forget his name. He was actually much better in here as well. I thought he was given a much more, he kind of became like a father figure to Eric, where in like the classic he's kind of just like, I'm scared of everything and all that stuff. And we gave him a mom this time around, Eric a mom, which I liked. I thought she gave Eric kind of more of a, I guess, a grounding that he needed. I loved everything around Eric. Like I love him, I love his mom. I think just making that world. I think they did a very interesting job at making the world around Eric, making the I don't know how I want to say this, making the world that she's sacrificing to go to feel bigger and feel more real. That I think works. Like, it gives her a reason to want to stay there. Like, if we like the world that Ariel is moving to, then we're going to be more supportive of her wanting to go there. I guess if that makes any sense at all. Ursula is an interesting topic. I haven't heard what people think about her as Ursula. I didn't hate her as Ursula. I do think she's the worst casted in this movie. Again, she's not bad. I didn't mean to say Ginger. I definitely did not. If I did, I'm very, very sorry. Ursula was fine, though. I think Ursula had I don't know. Ursula has such a strong personality. And I do think most of Ursula's stuff was also kind of textbook Ursula. Like, there wasn't much more there than what the animated gave her, which is very unfortunate. I will say, though, I appreciate them doing the whole brother-sister thing, which is something I loved from, like, Broadway. Oh, I meant Stranger. If I said Ginger, I'm very sorry. I meant you, because I didn't know if you had seen it. But no, I mean, I'm pretty sure it was either the Broadway or, like, the source material that really dived into Triton and Ursula being siblings, which I always wanted. And I like, Ursula is kind of what I really like. I always wanted to see, like, a Ursula movie. Like, I think that could be really, really cool. So, you know, I think with, like, the, like, little screen time she's given, she's fine. She's okay. I will say, I think she does do a good job, though, because, like, there are scenes where it's like, was that her? Was that the original voice of Ursula? Obviously it's not. I just hope. I guess I would love a prequel. I think that'd be really cool, actually, if we got some kind of prequel or sequel. I actually do think they open it up very interesting to a sequel here, because there is, like, I think almost all of these live action reboots, I want to get them to a point where we can just do sequels, because that's the interesting thing. Like, me personally, I don't have much interest in seeing these stories told twice, but have them be told where we can expand on these worlds, where we can do sequels and prequels and spin-offs, and, like, that's the thing I would be more interested in. Like, all right, Ariel's on land now what? What's next for this character? They're going off to, like, explore these other lands. What's that story like? What's these new stories I've never seen before? Like, that's what I'm interested in. Let me see, and it would never happen because it'd be way too much money. It'd be way too expensive. But like an Ursula prequel movie, where it's like her and Triton and her being kicked out and her growing up and learning magic, and I think that'd be really cool. I think that'd be really, really cool. Let me check up on chat here really, really quick. Okay, but realistically, how many more remakes do you think Disney will do? Because at some point they're going to get to the point where they just do remakes of the remakes. Well, yeah. I mean, you know, there's always sequels and there's always prequels. And, you know, they're still making original movies. So in about 10 years, 10 years, they're going to start doing, like, Encanto and Tangled. I mean, we're already doing Moana, which is very, very weird. So anything's really on the game. And, like, we'll do, like, a live action thing of Wish and all those movies. You know, I mean, I'd prefer new movies instead of just the same story again. But again, I'm fine with some. I agree with you. I think the original Eric was just a pretty boy that just didn't. Yeah, no, I mean, he had that very early Disney problem of, like, our love interests being, like, having one brain cell and not doing anything. Like, they were all like that almost. I think Eric's, again, one of the better ones. But still, like, yeah, all that stuff. But in this, he actually has a plot line. Yeah, I mean, no, he's a real character here, and I liked watching him and hanging out with him. And again, I think the original Eric is charming enough. Like, I never had an issue with Eric, but he was a much more. I mean, he got a whole song. They gave him a song. He was great. Did you see they're making an animated TV series on the new Little Mermaid? I did. And grown men in their 30s were crying over a show made for like 3-year-olds. What's new? No, I think it's fine. I think Disney's been doing a lot of those. I mean, they've been really going for their like Disney properties over on like Disney Junior and stuff. Is it still called like Disney Junior? I'm not sure. I mean, there's that new Alice in Wonderland show. They just announced like a Winnie the Pooh show. Which, thank you, Disney. We're actually going to be talking about that in a little bit here. But yeah, no, I saw that. Good for them. I check out like one just to kind of see what it's all about. Who knows? Already, Pixar's first original series, Win or Lose, releases in December on Disney Plus. About darn time. We've heard about the show for a while. This has been at least 2 years now that we've heard about this thing, along with like your Moana TV show and your Tiana TV show and all that fun stuff. Very excited to see what I would, again, if Pixar wants to get into like the streaming game, I'm very fine with that, because I think Pixar TV shows could be really cool. And I again, not much to say here, but I hope people go visit this movie. Or the show, I mean. I think it's all going to, it looks just like a very wholesome time, right? Each episode focusing on a different player and their perspective on one game, I guess. And yeah, I don't know. I'm very excited for this. December can't get here soon enough. So this is a very interesting one. So Walt Disney has created a short film called I cannot talk today, I'm very sorry, named One Upon a Studio, that features Mickey Mouse gathering Disney characters for a group photo. The film includes 40 voice actors, including the genie, using previously unaired audio from Robin Williams. This is an interesting one. I haven't seen if there's been any controversy about using Robin's voice here. But besides the potential of that controversy, and I'm not even gonna tune in for that. I'm not even gonna give my opinion on that, because I'm not quite sure kind of what the consensus is yet. But this sounds very, very wholesome. I like this idea. I think Disney's going all out for their 100th anniversary, and I'll be honest, I might cry hearing Robin Williams' Genie again. I mean, obviously there's Genie there, and then there's Olaf, and we're obviously getting Mickey Mouse, and I think I see Tiana in the background there with all those action figures. This sounds very wholesome, very cute. I love our little Disney crossover type stuff like this. That's always a pleasure. I wonder who else they're going to get for this. I mean, I would assume you're I don't know, you're Jiminy Crickets and maybe you're Frozen people, and I don't know. This just sounds very wholesome, very fun vibes. Let me see. Have you seen the new Cinderella on Amazon? I think you would like it. I did not. I think I watched Dylan Is in Trouble's video on it, but I never actually watched it myself. But I think I might. I'm kind of just Cinderella outed. I've seen so many of these, man. I don't need another one personally, but maybe someday. I heard the music was pretty fun. Is this an actual TV series? Because they've said in the past Disney Plus shows, and it turned out that they were. That's a good point. They've said it's their first official. Well, I actually don't know. That's actually a good point, because it's their first original project, but it could just be 5 minutes, and that's a fair point, though. That's a fair point. I hope they're at least like 10-minute episodes at least. This was announced back in 2020, so it's been 3 years. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. I hope it's good though. I hope it's all good. Alrighty, here's an interesting one indeed. Stan Bailey says that the live-action Lion King, Stranger, you're gonna like this one, franchise has the potential to expand into a big, epic saga like Star Wars. There's a lot of room here. If there's a lot of room to run if we can find the stories. This is really funny to me. This is a really funny article. I want to state by saying that like the original Lion King movie is one of my favorite film. It is my favorite film ever made. I think it's amazing. I think it's spectacular. I won't speak on my opinion on like the live action reboot too much. I think there's other franchises Disney has that could be this for them. Like I think there are like Lilo and Stitch or Hercules or like Aladdin could be their like big Star Wars franchise if they're really looking for one. I don't know if Lion King's one. I don't know, because like obviously the prequel's happening. Very excited for that. It's one of my most anticipated movies ever. But where do you go after that? Of course, you could do a sequel, obviously, and I'm not against the sequel if it's like a new story that we've never seen before. If it's something completely fresh, I think that cast is good. But like, where do you go? Like, what's the ultimate? Because I think one of my issues with like the live action movie is that there was nothing new to that film. There was nothing to add, because I think that story is so cut and dry. But I guess I wouldn't be completely, I don't know. It's weird. Again, like I think Hercules could like be that for them. I think Hercules or like Aladdin or like Atlantis or something could be their big franchise starting live action reboot if they wanted to. But who knows? I don't know. Whatever. Let's move on. So Carl's Date is now playing in theaters in front of Elementals. The short film follows Carl as he prepares for his first date after Ellie's death. I can officially say I've seen the short. I kind of actually forgot about it until I was like in the theater and watching it. And I don't want to spoil it because I don't know if Stranger has seen either this or Elemental. I thought this was beautiful. This was a very, very sweet movie. Very sweet short. I love the Up world. I think it's like among some of my favorite Pixar films. And just kind of knowing that this was the like voice actor's last performance ever, like last project ever, was beautiful. It was gorgeous. I thought it was a really nice way to say goodbye to like the Up world, I guess, in this Up universe. It was very sweet, very wholesome. I teared up a couple of times. I'll be honest. I got a little teary-eyed at some points. And I think it is kind of just a power up Pixar, and I think it really does lean into what Up was really about. And I think, what people remember about Up is that first 5 minutes with him and like Ellie. And I think this short kind of focuses on that and like those emotional beats that we love so much about Up. His last project ever. Yeah. The actress passed away, unfortunately, I think last year or so. It was very sad, but it was also very wholesome. I would recommend just going to this movie just to see the short. Like, if you don't even want to see it, go see the short. It's very fun. You'll like it. Alrighty, let's move into Elementals. Came out this weekend. Again, I don't want to talk too much about it. Go into too crazy spoilers because it's weird because I was talking about this at like the very start. It's hard to spoil this movie because, you know, there's not a lot of straight up spoilers. If you've seen the trailers, you can kind of guess where everything was going. I will say, because I was kind of nervous going into this movie. The trailer, it told me it was a very basic movie. It told me there wasn't a lot of, I don't know, I just didn't really have much hype basing it just off the trailers. But I can say my kind of honest opinions on this movie. Very fun. It's a very fun movie. If you're a fan of rom-coms, I think this is a very well-made rom-com. I really, really do. I think it was a very well done film in that genre. Now, I know that's not a lot of people's favorite genre. And I think once it comes, I'm very curious once this movie comes to streaming, because no one's talking about this movie currently. Everyone's talking about Transformers and Flash and, Little Mermaid and, all the films that are currently in theaters. So I think this is, again, going to do, I actually think I might do very well when it comes to streaming. And all those, like, commentary channels that are going to be like, all right, it's here, let's react to it, or, whatever. I think the main thing kind of takeaway is that this movie isn't new. Very few things about this movie are new. We've seen it. It has that mix of, like, Romeo and Juliet. It has that mix of, like, Zootopia. There's a lot. Like, if you like Zootopia, it's kind of this movie. Like, it's kind of strange how similar this movie is to Zootopia. So it has, like, the Romeo and Juliet vibe. It has the, like, Zootopia vibe. And there's also, I don't even know what it's called, but, like, there's that subgenre. I'll say that there's another story template that's in here that you'll see in a lot of other, like, rom-coms and, like, Netflix films that is not advertised in the movie or in like the trailers at all. And I was like, oh, we're going this route with it. That's actually kind of very funny. They're very interesting. And I don't know, I think maybe the movie would have done better if it didn't focus on that specific thing. So I don't know. But I will say where this movie does thrive for me is in areas Pixar I think usually really, like, thrives in, and that its characters. Its characters and its world building are so charming. Like, you have no idea. They are so charming to just watch and feel. And I think the world that they created, just like Zootopia, each, like, location's a lot of fun to watch. The way they, like, design the city based on these different elements is very creative and fun. And I do think it sticks to that Pixar charm that we love so much. And I do get those really classic Pixar vibes that I was missing in, like, movies like Lightyear and even bits of Turning Red. Like, as much as I love Turning Red, it didn't keep up with that Pixar charm that I'm typically used to. Again, not a bad thing. I don't think every movie needs to feel the same. That's not how film works. But, I think it does kind of stick a lot of those landings that I love. What I will say is I hope it gets a sequel, because I think a sequel can be 10 times better. Like, the main, again, plot of this movie, again, it's a very, very, very thin plot. It's nothing you haven't seen before, but the way they end the movie, the way they end things, I think could lead to some fun sequels. It could. I want to see more of the world. And I will say, like, I want to see more of the world, because they focus a lot on water and fire. That's kind of the main focus. We barely get to see earth and wind. They're here, they're present, but we don't get to explore any of their worlds or any of their lives or their parts of the city at all. And I think, again, not this film's fault, because they definitely do stick to the story that they're telling here. But if we get a sequel, I'd like to see the other elements explored, and maybe get to see new elements as well. Or, explore more of, like, what happens when elements mix. Could be a lot of fun. Alrighty, what's Stranger saying in the chat? Appreciate you, Stranger. You're here chatting with me. Very much appreciate it. I don't care about spoilers, so feel free to talk about them if you want to. I appreciate that. Again, this is a movie not much spoilers. Like, obviously, I could tell you how it ends, but I think it's very easy to talk about without giving away too much. Again, the trailers tell you a lot as well. Also, I think the reason they're not really talking about it is because box office is crowded right now. Like, really, really crowded. I 100% agree. I think that's why Flash isn't doing well either. I think Spider-Verse and Guardians and Mermaid are the main kind of three currently, and that sucks for sure. Someone said that at the heart, the story is about immigration. I'm sorry, I cannot speak. Yeah, I would say so. That's a big part of the story. A big part is, like, one thing I did notice is that they don't beat around the bush. Like, they straight on tackle some heavy subjects like immigration, like racism, and like I think it's done in a way that isn't like, and they don't even like. I think like Zootopia, they like try and beat around the bush a little bit. No, this like there's characters that are straight up just racist here, and they kind of have to move. Like, nothing you can really do about that. You kind of have to move on with your life and try and prove people wrong, I guess, in certain ways. So yeah, no, I thought in those categories the storytelling was done very, very well. Maybe that's what the sequel could be about, or maybe. Yeah, no, I would like to see more out of this world, because I think it's a very interesting world that I would like to explore more of. Definitely. Yeah, I don't have much to say. I'm very curious. I hope this is a movie that does kind of blow up when it hits streaming. Very similar to like what like Encanto happened with it, because I think it's very charming. I think a lot more people would enjoy it if given a shot. All right, let's talk about some live action reboots again. Disney's in love with them. So Sarah Polley is in talks to direct the live action Bambi at Disney. This is an interesting choice because Bambi is an interesting one because I think there is room for creative changes and doing things very different and fun. But Bambi is a very simple story. There's not a lot of room there. And I think that can either be this film's blessing or curse. They can be like, hey, Bambi, we're completely flipping you upside down and we're making a whole new movie based on just your name. Or they can be very lazy with it. They can be very, it's Bambi, just put this thing out already. But I think it's very interesting that you get Sarah Polley, who won an Oscar very recently, who's made a lot of very well-known, very well-criticized films. I said that way wrong. I don't know why I said it like that. But like, you know, she has some very good movies. So if she's just kind of tuning in for that Disney paycheck, or does she have a real passion for Bambi? I think Bambi actually could be, like, I think you could lean into like the artistic vision of Bambi. Like, I think it could be a very artsy movie if you lean into that, because that classic Bambi is very artsy. It is a very simple artsy movie, and that's why I love it. Who knows though? I wonder if this is getting Sarah involved makes me think that maybe you get, I don't know, maybe you get like, I completely forgot what I was going to say. It's funny Disney is doing one of the live action Bambi because another studio is doing a Bambi horror movie. That they are, which we will talk about in hopefully a couple of minutes here. Up next, here we go. So last year, Winnie the Pooh became public domain. This isn't old news. We talked about this before, but I do kind of want to talk about some of the projects that have come out and that have come out because of this being a thing. So obviously in February, we got the like Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey film. I still have not seen this movie. I still have not watched it. I haven't been able to pull up my big boy pants and watch it. But since then, they have greenlit a Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2, a second one, along with greenlit projects like like a Peter Pan one and a Bambi one and one more at the top of my head that I cannot think of, but they're making it. They got like 4 movies happening, and I thought it was a very funny thing because like they only made like $5 million or something, which isn't a lot, but I think their budget was like 1 million or like like very like it was like very very small. Like they had a very low budget for this movie, and they got like triple back. So sequels and spin-offs, and oh man, I guess they got a whole like cinematic universe thing happening. But let's also talk about some of the other projects that are happening that I think is kind of interesting. So we are doing a Winnie the Pooh TV show. I'm actually pulling it up right now for you guys, so give me 1 second. So this upcoming TV show, I find it very interesting. I should have prepared for this a little bit better. Let me read this really quick while I pull it up. The live action, the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, but I heard it wasn't great, but hey, I heard it's almost like it's so bad it's good. Like I almost heard it's not even supposed to be good. Alright, I can't find the article currently. I should have pulled it up beforehand. But from what I hear, it's about Christopher Robin. He's a college student, and to see Winnie the Pooh and his friends, he has to get high. And that's kind of the plot of this like TV show, this like live action TV show. I think out of all the announcements that we've heard, that's the most interesting to me. I think that's the most creatively like, oh, that's fun. It's not outright scary, but it does kind of lean into this idea of like, oh, this kid may have been crazy. That's kind of funny. We've also heard about like this like horror game that is happening, where you have to like defend like the like 100-acre woods from these demons and stuff like that. That's a very weird choice to put with like Winnie the Pooh. We also have projects like this recently announced kid show over on like Disney Junior. That's happening still, and along with like a prequel movie from Disney as well, in kind of the same style as like your Paddington and your stuff like that. But there's a lot from like Winnie the Pooh from just Disney, and also just these other studios being like, hey, I wanna do something too. I think that's kind of fun. So yeah, I don't know. Peter, I cannot talk. Peter Pan Neverland of Nightmares, I think is what it's called. Peter Pan is quite, I think, disappointing because again, I think there's an outlet there where Peter Pan, you can have a really cool, scary Peter Pan movie. Because Peter Pan, at most places, a villain. He's a bad guy. He kidnaps kids, right? Even in this new like Peter and Wendy movie, he wasn't the greatest guy here. Like he like kicked his friend out, and he was doing all this stuff. But apparently it's about like Tinkerbell doing cocaine, and why? I mean, I guess it's a budget thing, right? But like, why Tinkerbell on cocaine? That seems weird. That seems like a weird choice to me. I grew up on Winnie the Pooh. I think it's kind of cool it's getting another life. Yeah. I mean, I love Winnie the Pooh, and I'm fine with public domain. I just wish more projects would dive into what makes Winnie the Pooh special. Because I think what makes him special is he's our friend, and he's just this like cuddly little friend that we can always count on. And I think I don't know. I don't know. I want more of that, and I hope that like Paddington inspired prequel movie that Disney's making, I don't know, puts it over the top. I hope that's the thing most people are talking about. They did a really good scary Peter Pan. I don't know if you watched the show, but they did a perfect villain version of Peter Pan on Once Upon a Time. I do watch it. It's one of my favorite shows ever. I love, easily my favorite version of Peter and Wendy and Hook, especially Hook. Obviously Hook. Who doesn't like Killian? Man, there's so many characters in once where I was like, yeah, those are my favorite versions of those characters. I mean, just what they like, just the time they spent in like Neverland, and like, I mean, that was longer than most movies, right? Like, they spent a whole season there. Like he was like the main villain of a season. Like, that was so good. Hook is like one of the main characters in that show. Like those characters will never get that kind of coverage ever again. It's crazy. I love Once. I'm currently rewatching it with my mom. Currently, we're in like mid-season 2. And I am loving kind of revisiting the show. It's been such a fun time because obviously it's one of my favorite shows, but it's been a while since I've seen it. And there's so many things where it's like, oh, I don't remember that at all. That's a complete blank to me. So that's been a really fun time. So a live action Moana is in the works. I saved this one for last. Actually, I seemed to have forgotten. I seem to have forgotten a slide as well, but that's okay. We can talk about it another time. So live action Moana in the works at Disney. This was announced a couple of months ago. Dwayne Johnson made a whole video about it, and I hate it so much. I very much do. I think this is a weird one because I'm totally fine you going through your like catalog of your older movies and start to reboot it with like a new fresh take. I think this one's just going to be very hard for me to swallow. I think Moana is it's in my like top 10 films of all time. It's one of my favorite Disney movies of all time. And everything about it just seems to me like Dwayne Johnson needing a franchise. That's what this feels like to me. He lost The Rock. He lost the Black Adam, I guess, and he's going back to Moana, and he's going back to Fast and the Furious, and you know, he's doing all these things, and I don't know. I don't know how to feel. I think the fact that like he's starring in it, it's just, you know, and as like this main actress being like, yo, I can't come back because I don't look like Moana. I think doing that and then Dwayne Johnson still like on Maui, I'm gonna be live action Maui is. Yeah, I agree. I really do agree because I think there can be some really cool stuff when it comes to unnecessary and like you can argue most films are unnecessary, but this one to me just feels like, oh, we're doing it because Dwayne wants it and it's popular and money, and I don't know. I don't like this one at all. Maybe it could be good, maybe it can be, but like you still have so many properties you can pull from first. To me, this whole thing just feels like Dwayne Johnson wanting money. That's what it really wants. That's what it feels like to me. And I think that's unfortunate. I'll probably still go to see it because I'm a nerd and I watch all these things. I also wanted to pull up an article. I don't have it. Let me do something. I'm on a screen share it because I forgot to upload it here, I suppose. Alright, I'm not seeing it here. Let me pull it up over on Twitter just really, really quick. Because we heard about a live action... I see. My little actually got his middle name because of Moana. That is very cool. That is a very cool story. I will say, Moana really got me back into Disney. Because like I think Moana came out in like a weird time where I was kind of out of Disney. You know what? I'm just gonna talk about. I'm not gonna look up the article. Yeah, no, like it had come out in a time in my life where I was like, I'm too cool for Disney. You know, I didn't outright say that, but I was kind of like exiting the phase, and I was watching other things, and I was kind of growing up. But I think Moana really did pull me back in. I saw it in theaters, and like before going into it, I really did not care to see it. Like I had no real interest in the movie. I was like, all right, a new Disney movie. I'll go see it and see if I like it. But like that is still one of my favorites. Theater moments of all time. It's just me knowing nothing and being blown away by it and just being like, this is one of This is one of my favorite films I've ever seen. This is one of the greatest things I've ever seen. So according, my last thing here, I don't have the article. If anyone wants to know, I can tag him on Twitter. But apparently, according to Discussing Film and a couple of sources, there is a Inside Out TV show in the works. There's a show based on the Inside Out show, the Inside Out movies. Now, of course, there is an Inside Out 2 happening next year. Very excited for this, but I said when that got announced, back in like, what was it, like October, December, something, I had said, an Inside Out TV show is my dream Pixar project. It's my dream Disney TV show, because I think that could be one of the greatest shows of all time. And I would make it, if I was in full control, I would make it an anthology series. Each season takes place with a different set of emotions, with a different human, at a different state in their lives. Right? Obviously, that original Inside Out, and then the original Inside Out is about this like preteen who's moving and struggling in life. The sequel is about Riley, and now she's a teenager. She got new emotions, and she's going through, all these things that teenage girls go through. And I would be like, all right, these movies are her story. And then you can do a show, and each show is a different season. So like season 1 could be like an old man who's who's like lost all of his family, and season 2 could be like a someone who's just become a mom, maybe, and dealing with her kids. Maybe season 3 could be like a gay man and struggling through those issues, like those things in life. And then season 4 could be like, I think you could do some fun stuff. It's like someone on like the autism spectrum. Like that'd be so interesting to see, what are those emotions like? What do they look like? I think it'd be a brilliant show. Like I think it's like that is a award-winning show in my mind. I really do think so. I would love something like that. And if this is true, that we are getting like an Inside Out show, I'd be very happy. Not to change the topic, but that's what the Arrowverse did for me with the superhero genre. No, that I 100% get that. I think the Arrowverse was really my first step into it, I think. Because like I had watched like X-Men and like Earth's Mightiest Heroes and like the old Justice League shows, but like I wasn't in, and then the Arrowverse kind of pulled me in. It really, really did. And I was like, all right, I guess I have to go watch all these other shows and movies now. You know what would be cool if the first season followed like Riley's mom, and then the second season followed her dad? Maybe. I like the idea of each one kind of being a little bit separate, though. You know what I mean? Like, just kind of a random person. And like, you could do 15 seasons worth of that. Like, that is unlimited television at your disposal. Alrighty, guys. So to end off the stream, we got through all that relatively fast. So what we're going to do is we have over here a tier list. So I'm switching over. Give me 1 second. I will pull up the chat on my phone, for I can still see what you guys are saying as we go through this. And this is a tier list of Disney live action reboots. Now, I love a lot of these movies. I dislike some of these movies as well. For sure. So let's rank them. We have a tier list here. I have, let me switch out so you can actually see what I'm talking about here. Let's switch over. Let's share my screen here. Alrighty. Let's get, okay, the ad's gone. Okay, cool. So we have about 20 live action reboots here that I want to get through, and I want to rank them. So we have S, we have A, we have B, we have C, we have D, we have E, we have F. S being top tier, best of the best, perfect films in my opinion, and then we have F being unwatchable, terrible, hate them, all that fun stuff. Alright, so we got 101 Dalmatians 2, Christopher Robin, Cinderella, Cruella, The Lion King, Dumbo, The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Maleficent 2, Mulan, Peter Pan, Maleficent 1, Beauty and the Beast, Pinocchio, Pete's Dragon, which I think is arguably not a live-action reboot, but oh well. Jungle Book, Alice in Wonderland, 101 Dalmatians 2, Alice in Wonderland 2, and Lady and the Tramp. Let's see what's chat saying, Pete, real quick. People are fan casting Adam Driver as live-action Spider-Man 2099. That'd be kind of cool. Alrighty, let's go through here. Up first, we have 101 Dalmatians. I really like the 101 Dalmatians movie, the first one. I watched it quite a few years ago, kind of getting ready, I think, for Milan. I kind of like I think I had watched like 5 of these, kind of getting in preparation for them. 101 Dalmatians, I think I'm gonna have to move these around as I kind of see them. I would say 101 Dalmatians is a solid A movie. I really do. I think, I think it kind of takes the world of 101 Dalmatians, and I think it translates it into live action one of the best. I think it really does take, and I think just the story fits the best in live action. I think it does it in a way that it doesn't lose its magic. It doesn't lose its charm. It still has that, what is it? That 2000s charm to it that I think a lot of these films have. I think Cruella in this movie is so scary and menacing and quite frankly kind of scary at times. But no, I love this movie quite a lot. All right, up next I have Cinderella. Cinderella is a weird one for me because I think there's nothing. I think this is a good movie. It's just a good, solid film, front to back. I think they kind of crack it at all sides. The story is good. These characterizations are good. The budget looks good. They do something kind of silly with the fairy godmother. But I think it all ultimately worked for me. I would say I'm going to put Cinderella currently in a B. And guys, if you are interested to go along with me, throw them in the chat, kind of where you're thinking each of these should be. Honestly, I'm thinking B for 101 Dalmatians as well. I think B is a solid place for that, actually, both of those. Alrighty. Next up here, we have Cruella. I loved Cruella so much. I feel like I felt like this was my movie, man. I really did. Because I defended I loved these villain movies. I thought that's what they should have done more of, is make these villain films and kind of that's why I want spin-offs. I want expanding on these ideas in ways that we have never seen before. And I think it's such a fun story. And I think the way that, you're kind of going through this movie, it's how are we going to, Peter and Wendy, Ed, how funny is that? But I think the twists and turn, and, as it does get kind of silly in some spots, it feels just like a movie. It feels just like an Oscar-winning type movie that I think is very well made and very well directed, and I think Emma Stone is so good, and seeing how she transforms into this character is very well made as well. So I'm gonna say A for me. It's top tier of these Disney reboots. Lion King. Oh boy, this is where stranger kicks me in the face and throws me in a river. All right, I will say kind of straight off the bat, very defensive of Lion King. Lion King is my baby. The original movie is my baby. I love it. I was probably not going to love it from the get-go. Probably. I don't think I think elements of it are pretty bad, but I don't think. I think it's a very harmless movie at the end of the day. It didn't do anything. I think there's things in this movie that in some of these movies that are really bad, and I don't think it hits any of those points. I think, and there are things I like in this movie. There are certain moments and scenes. I like what they tried to do with Nala and giving her own story. I liked all the meta stuff, Timon and Pumbaa, and I like them just starting to sing "Be Prepared." I thought that was really fun. I'd give it a D. I think these are really going to get moved around as we kind of continue through here. But D for Lion King seems like a pretty fair spot. Might move it up, might move it down. We'll see. Dumbo. Again, it's hard to rank them when we don't know kind of where the full spots of everything are quite yet. I'm gonna say Dumbo for E. I remember the first time I watched it, I didn't hate Dumbo. I thought, I was like, oh, that's kind of a fun movie. And then I kind of rewatched it, and I was like, oh, this movie's really bad. It's kind of they did a thing that I wish more would do, but in a better way. Like, they tell the Dumbo story in the first 15 minutes, and then the rest of the movie is completely new and fresh. Like, it's a whole new movie. It's like, whoa, that's actually really cool. And the rest of the movie just kind of sucks, in my opinion. Like, I think there's nothing kind of exciting there. It's the most basic, like, rights activist movie. I think these kids, again, no, I don't like to blame kids, but these kids are kind of really bad in this movie. Danny DeVito's character, very bland, as much as I love him. There's just nothing there. There's nothing for me to grab onto and to like about this movie. Again, I liked it in theory, and I like what they tried to do here. Forgive me. It just didn't turn out, in my personal opinion. Alrighty here, Little Mermaid. Little Mermaid, I put in S. I mean A. I'm sorry, A. Stranger says, I've never seen Dumbo order original because my mom thought it was too sad and she didn't want to put it on for her kids through the sadness. You think Dumbo's sad? I guess it can be a little sad. It's a little racist. the movie's is a little racist, but I guess it can be a little sad at points. I guess I can see that. Already, Aladdin. Oh no, Little Mermaid. I'm sorry. No, I mean, we obviously talked about Little Mermaid a little bit ago. Love Little Mermaid. Again, it kind of just takes what I like from these live action reboots and puts them on display. Keeps a lot of the love and charm that I love from these movies, but also introduces so many new elements that I love and cherish. And I think A is a solid spot for it. I'm throwing Aladdin. I want to talk about Aladdin right there as well. I think Aladdin's another A for me. Again, does kind of those same things in different ways. I think I might like Little Mermaid slightly more than Aladdin, just because there are so many moments in this movie where I'm like, I want, like, they reread lines, like they reread certain lines where it's like, that's from the original, but the way you read them was so, like, it was so dry because you're just trying to like recite a line. And I think everything fresh and original in this movie is really, really good. I like a lot. I wouldn't say more than the original, but I like it. I like both. Like Little Mermaid and Aladdin, I can now say that I like both versions of these stories. And I love that I can say that. I personally really, really do. Alright, let's do Maleficent 1 before I do Maleficent 2. That'd be a little weird doing them out of order like that. Maleficent 1, I think, is a lot of fun. Again, I love these villain stories. I think that they're such a great time. There's some small things in here that kind of bug me. Like, I hate the Fairy Godmother so much. But I think it is such a fun, just villain story. And it's, I think Angelina Jolie, I'm pretty sure that's who's in this movie. I think she kills as this character, and getting to see this other perspective of this story is a lot of fun. And again, I want more of these. I want to see more of these villain origin stories. I think they're so much fun. So I put it in B. I think that, that's a solid B. We need to start rounding out some of these categories here. All right, Christopher Robin. I don't care. It's an A for me. This might be my number one comfort movie. Like, it's a movie that I just adore watching for every second. It's so wholesome, and it just brings me to my comfort place. I will say, it's probably not the best movie ever made. Like, it's very stereotypical. Hey, father needs to spend time with his loved ones, and he's always at work, so he needs to be taught a lesson on how to like, what's life all about. But I think, despite all of that, it tells such a genuinely wholesome story that we need to see. And it's my S tier personally. All right, maybe one of my hottest takes on this list, Mulan. I'm gonna put Mulan in E as well. Mulan's interesting because I think there's some really good things in here. I really, really do. Yeah, I think Mulan. I don't even know how to say it because I think it's like they made two movies. It's like they made the copy-pasted reboot from the original, and then they made a completely fresh movie. It to me felt like they wanted to do their own thing, and they wanted to make a movie about a warrior who fights a witch and these really cool battle sequences and all these different things. But then the studio was like, it has to be about a warrior princess, and she has to cut off her hair. And in doing so, neither the copy pasted reboot was done well, or this new story. They blended them together, and they couldn't. Neither one of these films could exist because they blended the two for me. And I 100% believe that this was studio interference. I think if they were just, I have no idea, but I have a feeling that studio was like, make it more like that classic movie. And I wonder what it would look like if that was the case, if they were given full range, what that would have looked like. That might move up or down depending on what the rest of this look ultimately looks like. All right, we talked about Peter and Wendy a little bit ago. Where does it go? Yeah, right now I'm actually going to put it just to fill in the C. It might move up or down. I'm going to put C. I think it's a very safe, fine movie. Very safe, very fine. Nothing outrageously bad. I mean, editing's pretty rough at times, and it's rough because I think it's boring. I think that's the worst thing about this movie. And you can argue that's the worst thing a movie can be. So, I don't know. Alrighty, up next we have Beauty and the Beast. The only thing I remember about Mulan is premiere access and that failure. Yeah, that was a very interesting time. I bought it, didn't I? I think I bought it. I think I had to pay that $30, man. Alrighty, Beauty and the Beast. This is a hard one because most people really like Beauty and the Beast. Guys, please forgive me. I don't know why I'm having throat issues. This audio probably sounds terrible. Beauty and the Beast, a lot of people like Beauty and the Beast. I need to do a rewatch because I haven't seen it since I saw it back on DVD all those years ago when it first came out. I like Beauty and the Beast. I think there's a lot it does right. I love the music in here. I love Gaston. I love they gave Beast a song. I don't, Emma Stone I think does a fine enough job as Belle. I'm honestly struggling to see what I disliked about it. I think I might need to put this one in again and rewatch it. Right now though, I'm gonna put it in B. Because again, I think it's very solid. It's a solid movie. It's not among my favorites though. So I think that's kind of where it's going to have to go for now. Already up next, I have Pinocchio. Did not love Pinocchio. Obviously there's some things that I did really enjoy from this one. I think there's some things it did well. I also think there's some things that were really bad. And I think just the fact that it does exist in this live action format, prevented them from copying it the way they wanted to copy it. I'm gonna say D with Lion King. I think it's pretty. It's not great. It's not a great one. I have never seen the live action Pinocchio. I heard it was not good. Yeah, it wasn't great. Was not great. All right. Maleficent 2. Now, I think Maleficent 2 is the most forgettable movie I have ever seen. It's so... honestly, I don't remember much. I just remember not liking it at all. I remember it not being a great time for me. But is it... You know what? I think I'm gonna give it another D for now. And again, we can move it up or down. I can see it maybe hitting that C category. But for now, again, there's nothing I can really say about it because I don't remember it. I don't think it was. I think it was a huge step down from the first. 100%, 110%. I think it was a massive step down. All right, Pete's Dragon. The one that I think you can argue is not a live action reboot because it was already in live action. But I think, again, from what I remember, it's been a minute since I've seen Pete's Dragon, but I remember Pete's Dragon being a very good time at the movies, if you will. I thought it was a really fun story, and I think the way they were able to tell the story, if I remember correctly, was very fun, and I think I remember liking it more than the original. Yeah, that's all I really have to say. I think it's a very good movie. Need to rewatch that one as well. Up here we have The Jungle Book, which I think I'll agree, another S tier. Filling up the S a little bit with Christopher Robin. I think Jungle Book is a phenomenal live action reboot. I think it does everything I love about a live action reboot. It captures what the original did. It captured that story, but it changed so much, and I think it improves. As I do still think that original Jungle Book is a perfect film, and maybe this doesn't reach that like status of almost like cinema. It's really good. I think the way they wrote these characters and they imagined this world, it was just such a well-made movie. It really, really was. I love all, and I love, again, I think when I can say that I love this and the original, you did your job. That I can love both of these equally, and not like a film like Peter Pan, like Peter Pan is a fine movie, but I would never put this on over the classic Peter Pan, if that makes any sense at all. Alrighty, let's move on to Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland, Tim Burton movie. I think there's a lot this movie does well. I think it visually looks really cool. I think this movie was kind of made for Tim Burton. I love his style. I love some of the things they were able to do with this movie. Even if it is kind of boring at times, and even if there's some things I don't... I'll be honest, I'm not a huge Wonderland fan in general. So I don't think it really does pull to me in maybe some of these other ways. I'm going to give it a C, though. I think it's very middle of the tier for me. It doesn't reach the highlight of any of these higher ones. Nowhere near any of my Bs, I think. So I think C with Peter Pan and Wendy fits pretty well for it. And I straight up think the sequel is unwatchable. I think this movie kind of throws so much at you so fast, and it's one of the most like clunky and overboard movies I've ever seen. It's like time travel and weird rabbits, and again, I think it's also very forgettable. Like I'm trying to even like remember it, and I'm like, I don't really got anything for you, bud. I really, really don't. That's all I gotta say. F tier. I think it's really bad, personally. I don't know if that's all I take on out. I don't know. 102 Dalmatians, the sequel to the 101 Dalmatians. I like, this is a very fun movie. It's very like 2000s Disney fun, but I don't think it's very good. I don't think it's a very good movie. And I think I just kind of put it in the middle. Like there's not a lot going for it. I think the plot is very silly. Plot is very. I think Cruella carries this movie full-heartedly. I love that version of the character. I think she does a great job. But yeah, it's very silly. It's very fun. It's kind of nothing really special to it. Yeah, no. Our last one here is Lady and the Tramp. Again, I'm putting this one in C as well, because there's nothing wrong with this movie. It's just kind of just that original movie, but done again. And that's kind of my least favorite kind of these movies, is if it doesn't add anything new or special, then what's the point of it being there, if you will. So yeah, I don't know. All right, I'm kind of looking at this list here. what Stranger said, I love the Alice in Wonderland live action. Are you talking about the first one or second one? Because I agree with the second one. Yeah, no, I like the first one enough. I think the first one's good enough. Second one, F tier. I thought it was really bad. All right, I'm trying to see if there's anything I kind of want to move around here. I feel pretty confident with most of these. I think we're going to move. No, I think we're gonna keep Lion King in D. I think we're gonna keep Lion King in D. I think we might move Dumbo to F as well. Keep Mulan in E. Because I think there are really good things in Mulan, but some of it's I think just done too far. Maleficent in E, I think. You know what? Maleficent, yeah. Let's keep it in, just kind of like, just kind of round it out a little bit. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I like it. Yeah, I like this list quite a lot. This was a lot of fun. So let's move over here before we end the stream. I'm gonna give a big thank you to Stranger. Been chatting the entire time, the whole stream. It's just been him. I appreciate you, man. I really, really do. It's always great to have someone to chat with. Having no one here is always kind of a pain, if you will. But having someone here is always great. Alrighty, I do want to get into some updates for the week. Things you can kind of be expecting from me. I got a lot of streams this week, guys. I'll be appearing a lot of places. So tomorrow I will be over on Toxic Taz's channel. We are talking about the Flash movie. My first place I will be talking about it. Very excited to be talking with him again. And then on Tuesday, I will be over, of course, on Party Nation, like always. We're also talking about the Flash there. Party Nation, it's always a great time being there. Wednesday, Taz will be back on the channel as we talk about all the things with another episode of The Pipeline. We got Secret Invasion. We got all those Netflix things that came out today. We have the Superman Lois casting news to talk about. A whole bunch of things there. Very tragic. But yeah, about 10 o'clock on Wednesday. And then my last stream of the week on Thursday night. We're talking about The Flash on my channel with my good buddy Red Arrow. That's what's happening. Any other updates? I think The Pipeline may finally be going up on Spotify this week. If I can get it all done, if I can get everything organized, it should be going over to Spotify, and like Apple Podcasts and all that kind of fun stuff. So if you guys are on the road, can't make it to the streams, that's always a choice. But guys, with all that being said, I will see you guys on the flip side. Goodbye.